Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your patience. Sorry for the late start. I'm Rob Bonta, California Attorney General. I'm honored to be here with California State Assembly Speaker Rob Rivas and California Senate Pro Tem Monique Limon. And we are here today to share out and reflect on the first 18 months of President Trump's second term, and more importantly, the work that California has led in that time to protect our people, our values, our resources, our state, our future, our economy from the attacks that have come from the Trump administration in his second term. And Trump's second term, unfortunately, although I will say not surprisingly, has so far been defined by a complete and total disregard for the law. He has been blatant and brazen in his unlawfulness. He has been consistent and frequent in his violations of the law and trampling over the Constitution. It has been a signature part of his administration to be unlawful, to be a repeat offender, time and time again, breaking the law. And it is a presidency that will be remembered for its repeated attacks on California, on Californians, on our Constitution, and on our democracy. It is a historic presidency, not in the way Trump wants it to be, but historic in its unlawfulness, in its willingness to trample over our Constitution. This has been a presidency that has hurt our economy, that has driven up prices, that has left the most vulnerable among us out in the cold. Our children, our seniors, struggling families, workers, immigrants, small businesses, the list goes on. And Trump will go down in history as the most lawless president this country has ever seen. And while that's disappointing and disturbing, the reality is we knew what to expect long before he was elected, because he told us. He told us on the campaign trail. He had a book written for us, Project 2025, that told us what the plans were. He showed his hand, and in response, we made a plan. California DOJ, together with Democratic attorneys general from across the nation, we prepared for the onslaught of unlawful actions, and because of that, we were ready to fight for our rights, for our values, for our future from day one. A fight that we've been able to take on and win, thanks in large part to the incredible partnership, the generous support, and the commitment of Governor Gavin Newsom and the California legislature. We've been a team. We've worked together. We've collaborated and partnered with one another to deliver for California and for Californians. Over the last year and a half, we've taken Trump and his administration to court 82 times. 82 times, more than one lawsuit a week, not because we want to. We'd rather be suing him 0 times, because that would mean he's complying with the law, complying with the Constitution, but we will sue him each and every time he breaks the law and hurts California. That's been 82 times as of yesterday, and we've won. We have won repeatedly. We have won at an incredible percentage. 83% of the time we have prevailed in our cases. So far, we've secured 21 final orders where we've won in court. Those final orders have been in our favor. We have secured 45 orders granting early relief, and in 8 cases, the Trump administration threw in the towel, waved the white flag, and decided it would comply with the law instead of duking it out in court after we brought our lawsuit. They saw the writing on the wall and gave up. We've celebrated wins at every level in courts, courtrooms across the country, in multiple circuits, in multiple districts, at multiple levels. At the trial level, we've won. At the circuit court level, we've won. That's the intermediate appellate level. And yes, at the U.S. Supreme Court, we have won. We have won at the U.S. Supreme Court on some of the signature issues of this administration. We've won on his centerpiece economic policy of tariffs in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. We've won on the unlawful deployment of the National Guard throughout the country. We have won on California's redistricting clapback, Prop 50, at the U.S. Supreme Court. We won on a core constitutional right, birthright citizenship, at the U.S. Supreme Court. Trump was in the courtroom, by the way, for that hearing. So was I. And he witnessed his devastating and humiliating loss when he tried to revoke a constitutional right with the stroke of a pen, something no president, certainly this president, cannot do. And through it all, we have protected $207 billion, with a B, billion dollars in funding for the state of California. Funding that Trump has tried to unlawfully rip away from Californians, mostly vulnerable Californians. These are funds for things like public safety, for schools, for food assistance, for clean energy, for victims of crime, libraries, museums, other vital programs and benefits that millions of Californians rely on. Trump tried to take away $207 billion. We protected it. That money continues to flow to Californians who need it, who deserve it, and who are benefiting from it. We protected SNAP funding that ensures hungry families are fed. Trump literally tried to rip away food from hungry Californians. We protected that funding. We protected child care funding that enables parents to work and support their families while knowing their little ones are safe, are loved, and are cared for. We protected education funding that helps give our children safe and stable school environments where they can learn, they can play, they can grow into our future leaders. We protected critical emergency preparedness funding that gives our communities the ability to prepare for emergencies and mitigate the risks of disasters. We protected transportation funding that prevents fatal traffic accidents, helps seniors and those with disabilities get around and be mobile and be independent, protects and restores roads after fires and after floods. And that is the short list. That is exemplary, not exhaustive. Suffice to say, the investment that the legislature and the governor have made in this work is paying off in droves, in massive dividends. 18 months in, you can be sure we are far from done. There's more of this presidential term left, more ahead of us than behind us. Our batteries are fully charged. I used to say we have a full tank of gas, but we're in California, so our batteries are fully charged. And we remain prepared and ready to take on any attack, any illegal action, any unconstitutional move the president makes. And the truth is, this isn't about one man. This is about the rule of law. It's about justice. It's about the very principles that define our nation, like checks and balances and the separation of powers, core fundamental pillars of our democracy, a democracy with 3 co-equal branches of government, each designed to act as a check on the others and prevent the abuse of power. It's about rights and freedoms for Californians, for Americans, a country where all people are created equal, where all have the unalienable right to life, to liberty, to the pursuit of happiness. It's about the Constitution, where the Constitution defines the rules and gives power to the people, not to one person. America is not a monarchy. We have no king. If there is a short version of the U.S. Constitution, it says this, that we shall have no kings. We shall have no monarchs. We shall have no tyrants. That is core and fundamental to who we are as a nation. No one is above the law. No one person can rewrite our Constitution with the stroke of a pen, though this president has tried multiple times, and though we've stopped him, not even the president can do that. Perhaps he's the most powerful official, perhaps the most powerful person, not just in the country, but in the world. But there are very clear limits to his authority, and when he tries to overreach, we will be there to stop him, as we have been in the past. Which means that when the president breaks the law, he can and he should be and he will be held accountable. We will be sure of it. We have been sure of it, and we're not slowing down. And let me be clear, this is not about politics. This is about the rule of law, democracy, the Constitution. And in the end, like so much of politics, it's about people, everyday people, real people, Californians, struggling Californians, those who need their government to work for them, who don't deserve a president who is trampling over the law and over the Constitution and hurting them. It's about people like Maria Antonietta Yandres, who shared with me that she relied on CalWorks and affordable child care after she escaped a domestic violence situation with a baby in tow and became homeless. She deserves that support. Trump tried to rip away that support. These 2 programs, again, Trump has gone after, allowed her to go to school. It allowed her to work and eventually start her own business, buy a home, and rebuild a life for herself and for her son. That is what these government programs do, should do, ought to do, but what Trump is trying to block. It's about AmeriCorps members like Jaden Dela Cruz, who saw her wages taken away in the blink of an eye by Doge. She was left not only to worry about herself, but she worried about where her students would go and if they and their families would be okay without the support of AmeriCorps. It's about small business owners like Andrew Malik, who builds infill housing in urban areas, tackling our housing crisis right here in California, trying to build more housing units for more Californians so that they can achieve that dream of home ownership. And he told me he had to take stock of his business and ultimately had to cancel a housing project in San Diego that he hoped to build because of the impact and the instability and the uncertainty of Trump's tariffs. This is about people like Gina Fromer, who leads Glide in San Francisco and has talked about watching the line for free meals at their building grow and wrap around the block when the administration cut off SNAP food benefits, leaving 100,000 San Franciscans hungry. The disastrous impact of Trump's lawlessness isn't theoretical or hypothetical. It's not imagined. It is real. It is hurting real people. It is hurting Californians, real families, real businesses, real communities every single day. We can't lose sight of that. Sometimes people, I think, mistakenly understand these lawsuits as something far away in D.C., disconnected and untethered from California. This is fundamentally about California. These lawsuits are fundamentally about Californians, their well-being, their future, the ability of programs and services to make their lives better, the ability of these rights to be provided to Californians so that they can benefit from them. 18 months in, and the verdict is absolutely clear. The Trump administration's blatant disregard for the law is bad for business, bad for workers, bad for families, and bad for our economy. You think that after losing 83% of the time, let alone, that's just our cases, let alone the many other cases he's faced nationwide, that perhaps Mr. Trump would get the hint. It's really not a hard concept. You follow the law, and you don't get sued. You break the law, you get sued. Simple. The choice is Trump's. He determines if we sue him, when we sue him, how many times we sue him. He decides based on his actions. If he wants no more lawsuits from California, all he has to do is follow the law, comply with the Constitution, not a lot to ask for the President of the United States of America. But until then, and we're not holding our breath, we will continue to see him in court. We'll continue to stand beside our people, to have their backs, to fight for their rights, to defend their freedoms. We'll continue to stand up for what makes our nation great, our Constitution, our democracy, our people. Is this time difficult? Are these trying times? 100%. Absolutely yes. But we shouldn't be hopeless because we're not helpless. We have agency. We have the ability to push back and fight back if we stay engaged, if we stay enraged by what we're witnessing in the White House, the blatant and brazen unlawfulness, if we use the rule of law to guide us forward, if we follow the facts and the law, our North Star, if we stand united in this fight for what's right, Californians can be sure that from the DOJ to the legislature to the governor's office, we've got your back here in California. With that, I'm pleased to turn it over to our incredible pro tem, Monique Lemot.
Thank you so much to our Attorney General and great leader and partner for us here in the state, Attorney General Rob Bonta. I appreciate being here today and standing as a backstop, collective backstop, to protect California families, communities, and our rights. We as a legislature and as a state knew that this administration was capable of. We learned that in the first term. And we knew that when he started in January of 2025, the experience would be a difficult one. We had the experience of the first Trump administration back in 2017, when we witnessed many of the actions we face today beginning to take shape. It is this knowledge that has allowed us to understand that the actions and words used by the federal administration demand action from us. The Golden State has long set the precedent of what it means to defend civil liberties on a state and at the federal level. We must put an end to the federal overreach that puts the lives at risk, tramples on our constitutional rights, and creates uncertainty across our communities. Just last year, the state legislature approved critical funding to ensure the rights of Californians are preserved and respected. The funding represented the commitment of the legislature and of the governor and our attorney general to ensure that the rights of Californians are at the forefront. We ensured that we prioritize and protect every area affected by the chaos that we see and that we've seen over the last year and a half. With the help and the leadership of Attorney General Bonta, California has made progress in holding this administration accountable for violating the United States Constitution. In 18 months, Attorney General Bonta has filed over 80 lawsuits and counting, restoring and protecting billions, $207+ billion for Californians. We know that this also is important because the role that is played is one that protects our funding, reaffirms our constitutional rights to birthright citizenship. It stops the militarization of our cities. It prevents further federal freezes from crucial program cuts that families, that Californians, that kids rely on. It's imperative that we recognize that the federal actions that we have witnessed in this second Trump administration have impacted every area of our livelihood, from the economy to environment to safety. Our constituents have all felt the direct effects of withholding funding and the deep cuts to our healthcare system, social safety net programs, and transportation, among so many other areas. Federal funding continues to be key for us to ensure the well-being of Californians. You all know this. Our state contributes over $83 billion more to the federal government than what we receive back. Yet, we continue to be faced with threats to freeze or cut existing program and services. This is why our collective work is so important to securing our public safety, healthcare access, environmental protections, personal and privacy information. The list goes on. While we acknowledge the incredible victories that California has had along the way, we also understand that the work is not done. California will not back down from defending our rights, from defending the values, from defending the hard-earned and won policies that we have in the state. We will continue to take the threats from the federal administration seriously, and we will act accordingly to defend our state and our communities. I'm proud to continue work alongside our Attorney General, the Speaker, the Governor, and the incredible legislature to ensure that California communities know that we have their back. These partnerships strengthen our resolve, and they remain strong despite constant federal attacks. I look forward to our collaboration leading to far more victories for our state, for our future, and for the people of California.
Thank you, Pro Tem. It's great to be here with both our Attorney General and my partner in the legislature, Pro Tem Limon. And I want to appreciate you all making the time to be here this morning with us. 18 months ago, our legislature here in California made a simple a decision. We invested $25 million to create a state litigation fund. This fund was set up to to defend Californians from unlawful actions coming out of Washington. Some people at that time, they criticized that decision. They said it was the wrong priority for our legislature. They said that we should focus exclusively on affordability and on issues that impacted our state at that time. They called it political. They dismissed $25 million as insignificant. Well, here we are this morning, and we have the answer to that investment. That $25 million investment, as was mentioned by our Attorney General, has protected an estimated $207 billion for the people of California. Think about that. $25 million protected $207 billion. That isn't politics. That's responsible government. That's protecting taxpayers of our state. And nothing is more important to affordability than making sure Californians receive the services they've already paid for. As was just mentioned by our pro tem, our state here in California, we already send Washington roughly $83 billion more every year than we get back. We're not asking for special treatment here in California. We're only asking for what the U.S. Congress has already approved and what Californians have already earned. And look, when the Trump administration unlawfully tried to freeze or withhold those funds, California didn't stand by. We fought back. I commend and applaud Attorney General Rob Bonta and his team, the California Department of Justice, who have taken this fight to court. And the courts have agreed. The funding was restored, and Californians ultimately won. And let me just briefly highlight what that has meant. It means children continue receiving school meals. It means parents continue receiving child care assistance. It means communities, they continue rebuilding after wildfires and floods. It means teachers continue educating our kids in classrooms. It means firefighters continue protecting our neighborhoods. That's what was at stake. And Washington tried to use money that belongs to Californians as political leverage, money for classrooms, for transportation, for public safety, for child care, for nutrition assistance. In California, we refuse to let that happen. And look, this has never been about Democrats or Republicans. As was mentioned by both the Attorney General and by Madam Pro Tem, this is about our Constitution. This is about the rule of law. And it's about keeping our promise to the people that we serve. So today isn't simply about lawsuits won, the progress we have made, but it's about the work that we have to continue to do to protect the interests and the values and the priorities and what makes California a very, very special place. It's about the families we've protected. It's about the promises that we have kept. And it's about proving that when California stands up for its people, we will do everything we can to win. $25 million protected $207 billion. That may be one of the smartest investments that this legislature has ever made. Because when Washington fails Californians, we won't look the other way. Again, we will fight and we'll protect every dollar that belongs to the people of this state. And so thank you. And with that, I'll turn it back over to our Attorney General.
Thank you. And I'll first say it's a pleasure to be able to update you on the status of our lawsuits and the impacts of the critical investments that have been made by the legislature in this important work to hold the federal government accountable when it breaks the law and violates the Constitution. I also want to say that thank you to Madam Pro Tem, Mr. Speaker. I know they have very busy days. They're in the final 4 weeks of an important legislative session with a lot on their plate, so you might have other places you need to go. Feel free to if you need to. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.